All right, I've been avoiding doing this video for a while because I didn't want it to come off negative. Today we're talking about crypto passive income, daily divs, strategies to win. And there is a way to increase your odds of winning on this platform. There is a possibility you're not going to win no matter what you can do. But this is really more of a game than a serious long-term type token. This is a complex ecosystem that the entire thing is a really huge, massive game, really. Then again, I mean, it's a gambling game. It's not a long-term use case project. And the reason I'm making this video is because I don't think a lot of the people who are participating with daily divs realize what they're participating with. And I didn't want to make this video because I didn't want it to sound like I was coming off negative, but I did this video right here talking about proof of weak hands and their entire ecosystem. And down in the comments, I got a lot of people talking about, daily divs, how great daily divs is, daily divs is better. And, I was asking questions like, what do you mean it's better? How is it better? And I want to give a quick shout out to, where's he at here? Chris Farrell. And it's because he was having a logical discussion, but he says daily divs will pass P3D. And I'm thinking, what do you mean it will pass P3D? And because it's not designed to last longer, like at all. I mean, there's nothing in the design that's designed to, like, for example, P3D or proof of weak hands over here. I mean, in theory, this thing could go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, 10 years, 20 years in theory. Technology may change and technology may make it obsolete, but there's nothing about this platform that should cause itself to quote unquote collapse. But daily divs, the very essence of the way it's set up, it has a lifespan. There is an endpoint. Now, what you don't know is where that endpoint is. But if you don't understand that there is an ending, then you have no way to come out of this thing as a winner. You have to go in understanding there's an ending, and so therefore you can have a strategy to potentially win and maybe win, a lot of money. I don't know. I will tell you though that you've got to be careful anytime you're in the gambling space. Now, daily divs does not present itself as a investing platform. In fact, if you look at this, you don't fully understand what they do. I mean, they've got all these dApps, but if you were looking for a traditional ICO or token, and you're like, what's their actual use case? Like, what are they doing? You might be confused if you weren't familiar with the smart contract space on what they're doing. What's their long-term vision? Like, you wouldn't be able to figure it out. And it's because at the essence it is gambling. And they do a good job of not like trying to present it as an investing platform of any kind. That part's good. They used to call this lending. I did a video where I was like, it should be called lending. And then I noticed they were calling it staking instead of lending. It used to be smart lending. But it's not really staking in the traditional sense either. We'll discuss that more. I mean, this part, the staking and the exchange are two areas that you need to understand if you want to create a winning strategy. So I'm just going to briefly recap. I'm not even going to recap. Listen, if you don't know what daily divs is, you can come over here. You can read all about it. But at the end of the day, it's a smart contract. These smart contracts, these smart contracts. So the way this one works is when you buy into the exchange, and we'll go take a look at that. When you buy into the exchange, and I got to give their website looks slick. I mean, it's very simple, but it's easy to understand. That makes it awesome. So it relaunched over here. It was on a previous platform. That platform didn't work out or whatever. It's a crazy story behind that. But there's an error in the contract. But it's way over here is when it relaunched. And it's sitting around 77 token operations, which is, do they say? I'm not seeing anything. I was trying to see where if it told. It's not telling the. Is it telling the amount in the contract anymore? I'm not even seeing that. It's not even saying the amount of Ethereum. Oh, here it is, duh. 457 Ethereum in the contract. There we go. $94,000. That's where we're at right now. I don't know what token operations means exactly. Transactions. Maybe this is showing that it's the 94,000. I don't know. 900,000 tokens in circulation. So I put a little ETH over here. I have played most of these games. I've messed around this platform just to kind of see how the mechanics work. And let me just go ahead and tell you, if you don't know what you're doing, you will get eaten alive on this platform. First of all, the exchange, the way it works is when you buy in, you basically, there's a 25% fee going in and a 25% fee coming out. So right off the bat, nearly 50% of your investment going in is gone. So if you wanted to put $100 in this platform, and the way you make money is you earn rewards based off of the people buying and selling the tokens. Because as they buy and sell, for every transaction, there's a 25% fee, and that gets paid out in dividends. What people like initially is they're like, oh yeah, this 25%. People think that the higher the fee is, the more they're going to earn. But really and truly what it does is it stalls the platform because nobody wants to move money because it's so expensive to move it. And so you actually, after the initial boost of these platforms that offer really high fees, you kind of kill the transactional volume in a lot of these platforms because it's so expensive to move it. But if you wanted to say double your money, imagine putting in $100. Well, you would put in $100, but you basically are going to only have $75 working for you. So you would have to, if you wanted your $100 to double, you'd have to leave your $75 in there, not touch it until it got to $200, which means it would have to go up like what? Close to 150%, is that right? 125% or whatever. It would have to go up much more than 100% because 100% would only be 150. You put in $100, but you paid a $25 fee. Let me just show you that over here. That's not going to work. So here we go. If you put $100 in the platform or $100 worth of Ethereum, or you bought you put $100 worth of Ethereum in, you would end up getting, you put $100 worth of Ethereum in, but you would only end up getting $75 worth of tokens. Those $75 worth of tokens would have to earn till you got up to $200. I'm sorry, until you would have to get up to $200 to double the original 100. So whatever that is it times 2 point. That's not even it. Wow. What is that? That's not even it. Is it 3? Okay. So if your $75 3x'd, now think about that. If it 3x, you're at 225, you're like, wow, okay, great. Now I can withdraw and I've doubled my money. But when you withdraw, you're going to lose 25%. So you lose $56. You still would only have 169. You still have not gotten to your original $200. You still have not made 100% on your money. It went up 3 times and you still have not. I hope you're getting the picture. Like, let's see if it went up 4 times, would that get you there? If 75 times 4. Okay, that's 375. 94. Okay. So if you would have to probably 3.5 times your money. So if you 3x your money, you still wouldn't be ahead. So I want you to understand that it takes that long to get your money back, your original just to double it. I mean, to double your original investment. Okay. So you'd have to get over 3x your money. Now, with that being said, That's just on the exchange. That's just the exchange. And the exchange is actually a major part of the strategy that I'm going to get to in a minute. Why? Because if you look at everything else, ETH savings is irrelevant. It's just a simple savings account in theory that you pull ETH from, but it's just like, I think it used to be 1% in, 1% out or something like that. Which if the entire platform was like that, that would be awesome. 2% tax. So 2% in, 2% out. Okay. And that's not that big a deal. CoinDelta is a gambling type market game. That's a whole nother ball game. It's a gambling game though. But the fees for this game here feed the staking. The war game, yeah, don't get me started on the war game. That's crazy. So let's take a look at this. We've got the exchange, the daily divs exchange, which we were just on, 25% in, 25% out. The exchange, and then there's the war game, and then these two games that contribute, or they're really just dApps that contribute, and that's the ETH savings account and CoinDelta. Staking is the big thing. Like, this is what everybody likes to talk about. Staking. So the way staking works, this is the part that makes this entire thing have an end. Like, it cannot exist indefinitely because the staking in and of itself is going to cause this entire thing to end. Now, knowing that, there's a way to play this, but you have to first understand why it's going to end. So again, this comes off like I'm trying to be negative, and it's just the math. So I can explain it to you. And by the way, if I'm totally wrong, feel free to leave in the comments and tell me where I'm wrong. But first, hear me out, okay? And I promise you, stick to the end. I'll show you the best strategy. If you're going to play in this space, and it's a high-risk space to play in, I can show you the best strategy and the best strategy is not, don't play. I mean, if you're going, I'm saying, what's the best strategy if you are going to try to play? What's the best strategy to get ahead, if you will? So staking pays 1% per day based on a surplus. So let me show you what that looks like. So there's these cards, and that's just another form. It's just another game that's attached to the staking. So there's a surplus. This is how much extra tokens are in here, essentially. And there's no lending. Okay, you need to ask yourself, if I put in $100 and I'm getting 1.5% a day, where's the 1.5% coming from? What is going on with my money for that money to earn 1.5%? Once you understand that your 1.5% is coming from nowhere other than the pool of money that everybody's put in. So if 10 guys put in $1,000 and they're going to earn 1% a day, okay? What would that be? Is that $10 a day? So they're going to earn $10 a day, okay? Well, if 10 guys put in $1,000, there's $10,000 in there. So if they start earning just 1% a day, that means on day, there's $10,000 in the surplus. On day one, if everybody pulled out their 1% and cashed out, that's only $100 gone. There's still $9,900 left in there. The next day, 10 people cash out $10. That's another $100 gone. This can go on for a little while, especially if they decide to put any more money in or if anyone else puts money in. By the way, that in and of itself is an actual real like that is what a Ponzi scheme is. But let's just keep going. But that extra money sitting there is also at the surplus. But what if people don't pull out the money? What if they let it ride, or what if they put it back in? Well, then the 1% can keep getting paid out to the people that are cashing out. Not everybody's going to be cashing out. And that's part of the beauty, part of the curse of how this works. Psychologically, it seems to be working really well. Someone said in my comments, I'm getting $40 a day for now. But you can't pull money out indefinitely. At some point, it ends. And I'm going to prove it to you. So, and anytime, someone says that in my comments, they're always like, oh yeah, but the exchange feeds the staking. I want to say the lending. The exchange feeds the lending. Or the games, the Coin Delta game feeds the lending. The eSavings account feeds the lending. Now, you got to figure out, what is the purpose of this? I'm just going to go ahead and say it outright. The purpose is for some devs to get rich. Like, that's all it is. And to provide you with entertainment. That's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that if you know that. That is 100% what it is. And all you have to do is look at the peers in the place. So first of all, let's come back here. So let's grab see if I can do, oh, I can't do that. All right. So the exchange fees, the 25% in, 25% out. 20% of the 25% goes to staking. 5% goes to the dev. That is no risk, straight money to him. That is 20% of the total fee. 20% of your fees go to the dev. A full 20% of your fees go to the dev. It's 1/5 of your total fees go straight to the dev. This 20% goes to the surplus. The eSavings, I think that goes to the surplus. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong with that. The Coin Delta profits goes to the surplus. And I don't know, I think a part of that goes to the dev as well. I'm not sure. Now this is 20% in and 20% out. So this is two ways. So ultimately on a round lot, like going in and going out, it's a total of 40% that goes to staking. 10% goes straight to the dev. Now, everybody says, yeah, but the dev feeds the staking too. Well, if the dev's sole purpose was to feed the staking, when I saw daily divs, there was a couple of things that concerned me right off the bat. First of all, I was like, wait a minute, they're doing a lending platform? Okay, they either whoever's doing this is totally clueless, like they don't realize what they're setting themselves up for. Because in the beginning, it looks simple. Again, 10 people put in $1,000, wanting to get 1% a day. There's $9,000 or $10,000 in there. The first day, they only get $100. It looks like, oh, we can maintain this for a while. But it's the compounding that gets you. And when you're compounding at 1.5 or 1% a day, that means that money left in there, that $990, gains 1% the next day. But where did that 1% come from? Where did that come from? So the only place it can come from is the surplus. That's the only place it can come from. It can't magically appear. So I hope this is starting to make sense to you. But when I saw that the dev got 5%, I thought, wow. Now compare that 5%. P3D, the devs, they got nothing extra on P3D. And there's games associated with P3D, third-party games. Most of those games pay out 1% or less. 1% or less. HDX20, another smart contract token, that token pays 1%, but it doesn't even pay it in straight ETH. It pays the dev 1% in the token. So if the dev goes to sell the token, basically he has to take the, he pays the fee on selling the token too. So he gets a little less than 1% if he was to sell all of his tokens right away. But think about that. Those are platforms that are looking for longevity. So we'll get to this in a minute. So the 1% fee, the 5% fee, and then this game got created over here, which I've played this game. This is an interesting game. Like, I don't know, but just looking at the amount of ETH that gets thrown around, this might be the most popular game on the whole platform. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this game does not feed the staking. This game right here just goes straight to the dev. All the profits goes to the dev. Now keep in mind, when this platform got hacked, I mean, the dev had already made something crazy like 600 Ethereum. Something crazy in just a short time. 600 Ethereum. That's insane. And he passed out some of that to, you know, different people to try to make up for the fact that it got hacked. And it looked like it wasn't any fault of his own, whatever. And he relaunched it, you know, had the contract fixed or whatever, and relaunched it. And everybody's like, yeah, but he uses that to put money back in staking. If he wanted it all to go to staking, then he could have used a smart contract to set it up to all automatically go to staking. It is absolutely about him earning profits outside of the ecosystem. I mean, he wants to make certain he's making plenty of profits. And I don't have a problem with him earning money. I don't care if he makes 20% or 50%. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's just understand that. You have to understand the game being played if you're going to be able to play the game and have a shot at winning long term. So, and I want to make sure you understand that how this has to end. In order for the 1.5, oh, that was the other thing. When it got relaunched, I thought, okay, are they going to relaunch it with staking? Maybe the dev realized when he set this up, you know, maybe he was just listening to other people and he realized, you know, that's not sustainable. Because for a developer, if he has any consciences at all, it stresses you out. It would have to stress you out to realize that this is not going to hold up. So I thought maybe this was a chance for him to be like, okay, we're going to relaunch this platform, because I kind of liked the games that came out on the platform and stuff, and I thought, let's see where this goes long term. Let's see what else originality comes out of this. Maybe this is going to go somewhere. That was the whole reason I was at first even paying attention to Daily Divs. It didn't look like a standard clone. It looked like they were trying to add some spin onto it. But when I saw he relaunched with the staking, I thought, oh no. And then the staking went from 1.3% to 1.5%. I thought, wow, he knows. Like, he knows this collapses. Okay. Then how is it presented? Does everybody else realize this? And I mean, I thought maybe they would, but I'm seeing the comments on my videos and I just get confused, because I'm like, okay, you say it's gonna surpass or pass P3D. What do you mean by that? It's not gonna last longer than P3D. It's just impossible. Because, okay, so if this thing is, we used a simple analogy a minute ago. We said, sorry, okay, what happened here? There we go. We said that 10,000, 10 people put in 1,000. That's $10,000. And let's just, you understand, for this to pay out 1.5% a day, first of all the money that gets left in is getting compounded. So if the 10 people don't pull out their 1% and they leave it in, it gets compounded by 1.5%. Well, where's that 1.5% coming from? It has to come from the surplus. Right here. We'll just call it surplus. It has to come from the surplus. And the surplus comes from all this activity. Or it has to come from other people coming in. And other people have to keep coming in to pay out the old investors. New investors paying out old investors is what a Ponzi scam is. So the challenge is to keep this thing afloat. At some point, even if everybody just pulled out 10%, it doesn't matter. Listen, for it to keep compounding at 1.5% a day, that means that the surplus, the business side, has to be able to grow at 1.5% a day. Now, you find me one business on God's green planet that has been able to maintain 1.5% daily growth for any length of time. Any length of time. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's impossible. 1.5% daily compounded growth. Daily compounded, not even daily, daily compounded growth. It doesn't. These actions, these arrows here, where am I at? These arrows here, they don't compound. There's nothing to compound them. The only way it keeps going, the only way the surplus keeps up is if you've got more and more people coming in. And people like to say, yes, but when people cash out their token, there's 25%. Do you understand what you're saying? Or 22%. If there's 22% when you cash out that stays in the pool, that means that there's 25% coming into the exchange when you buy DDD tokens. You put the tokens in, there's no fee. You pull the tokens out, you get hit with 22%. 22%. And then you pull the tokens from tokens to Ethereum, that's 25%. That is almost 75% fees you're paying. And that's one of the reasons that it can potentially last a while, because you've got to keep it locked up for so long to try to get any money out. But it still doesn't matter. Eventually, it cannot, no matter what you do, at some point in the future, it's so big, people are pulling out, that even their 25% they're pulling out when it's all said and done with is still so big. I mean, you're not understanding how quickly this can grow. Sorry, I keep trying to find my calculator. Here we go. This is $1,000 at 1.5% compounded 365 days a year, reinvesting 100% of it. And now, people like to say, but nobody's going to reinvest 100% forever. Okay, I got you. I got an answer for that. But just take a look at this. So this grows in 1 year to $229,000. That's $1,000 in 1 year. In 1 year. So what does 200,000 grow to if you kept it going? And we're just assuming one person. It can't go. It's going to be insane. Well, here's the thing. If 1,000 went to, I think it was 229,000. That's 229%, right? I think that's right. Then, gosh, that would be mind-numbing. I mean, that would be, I think it's 20, 30 something million. There's not that much money even. And people like to say, but, and God forbid if that went on for a third year. And people like to say, but no one's going to do that. You're probably right. No one's going to do that. They don't have to, no one's going to leave it in and compound that long. They don't have to leave it in and compound that long. That's what you have to understand. They don't have to. And it's not any one person. They can keep pulling money out. At some point, people want to pull out profits. That's the key. Profits. This compounding 1.5%, where's the 1.5% coming from? It can't be supported just by the surplus. The surplus is actually made up of two things. It's made up of this, and it's made up of all this that no one's pulled out yet. So the surplus is only 20% right now. If 20% of the people decide to start pulling out their money right now, it would collapse it based off the current surplus. At some point it ends. So what's the strategy? What's the strategy? And you have to understand that, you just have to understand if people pull out, let me just back up. Let me just show you two examples. People say, well, no one's going to compound it that far. Okay, let's just do both extremes. If people didn't compound at all and they just started doing 100% pullout, then you would drain the surplus really fast and it would collapse. If people waited to start pulling out and they let it compound, then it would last a long time. But the moment you start pulling out 10% and you've grown this thing to $229,000 of phantom profits, keep that in mind. It's phantom profits because you couldn't just cash out the entire 229. I mean, you could, but if you did, you would instantly collapse the system if everybody did that. But let's just say everybody put out 10%. That the surplus is not that big because the surplus is not growing by 1.5%. There's nothing to cause the surplus to grow by 1.5%. That's what you've got to understand. There's no mechanism in place for the surplus to keep compounding. And if you understand that and you understand where the money's coming from to support the surplus, then you realize, oh wow, this can't go on forever. So once you understand that, then you know it's going to end one day. Now, I'm not predicting that it's going to end next month or next year. It's not going to make it as long as BitConnect. Those of you that remember BitConnect, there's a lot of reasons BitConnect lasted that long. I'll say this about BitConnect, and some of you haven't thought about this, but BitConnect was very different. BitConnect, you used fiat value to buy BitConnect coins, and they showed you a fiat number that was valued at BitConnect coins. They paid you back 1% daily with BitConnect coins, but they were paying you back based on a fiat valuation. So they kept showing you dollar amounts. They would say, hey, you put in $1, you earned 1%, you got $1 back. But they weren't actually paying you in the dollar. They were paying you in BitConnect coins. The only reason that matters is because the reason BitConnect was able to be so big is because their coin price was going up. So they were actually able to pay you back less BitConnect coins. And that's one of the things that gave BitConnect longevity, and people thought it was real because you could look at the blockchain and see the coins. And they weren't depleting their holdings of coins at all. In fact, their surplus was growing because they were having to pay out less and less coins because they had the thing shot up from a buck or two all the way up to, I think at that peak it was almost $500 a coin. So their surplus was able to keep growing, and you could see it on the blockchain. And so that's one of the reasons that it lasted so long. So once you understand that the surplus is going to collapse because of the 1.5%, and you understand that the war game is about the dev making profits, and the 5% is about the dev making profits, 5% in, 5% out, and there's probably some fees on the coin delta for the dev. You understand all that, and then you're waiting on the dev to support the surplus. Well, you have to ask yourself, well, why didn't he just make it hardwired to support the surplus anyway? Well, the reason he did is because he wanted to make profits. He wanted it at his discretion on how much he put in the surplus. But at some point, he's not going to give up all of his profits. That's the bottom line. And once you understand that, then it's okay, how do I operate within these rules? So here's the strategy to be able to win. The strategy is twofold. There's two options. One is, first of all, don't play the war game. That's not going to help you at all. That's designed. There's no 100% winning strategy on the war game. So if it's about making money, don't play the war game. Don't worry about ETH savings, because the risk to the platform, when the platform goes down, most likely the whole thing's going to go down, or the whole thing's going to stop working. Don't play Coin Delta, because that's got fees in it, and those fees ultimately go to the surplus. So that's a waste. There's not a strategy to win in Coin Delta. ETH savings isn't really a game, so there's definitely not a strategy to win there. And the war game, there's no real strategy to win that consistently. I mean, guys, I'm certain have got little strategies they try, but there's no consistent strategy to win long term. And the war game doesn't support the surplus at all. It doesn't support the surplus at all. So here's the strategy. Sit on the exchange is the first strategy. There's another one with lending, but sit on the exchange and don't move. Because anytime you move, you're going to pay fees. You've already paid 25% coming in. So consider, basically, you're going to have to come close to 4x in money. So if you have $100, when you go on the exchange, it's going to show you having $50 worth of DDT tokens, because it shows you the full round lot when you get in. So you sit there until you've got $200 worth of Ethereum, and then pull out, and then you're ahead, or however you do it. Sit there until you get your money back, and don't do anything else till you get your money back, because the goal is to get the money back as fast as possible. With the staking being so low right now, it's at 21%. The problem with that is that staking can drop to 15% fast, and it can drop to 10% fast. So I do think just sitting on the exchange is the best strategy. The next strategy would be to go into staking and sit into staking, but immediately pull out your DDT tokens out of staking. And you're going to get hit hard, but cash out. Have a plan to consistently cash out 100. Have 100%. I call it a take profit strategy. Have 100% take profit strategy and pull out. And so you can, because that way you're decreasing your personal risk every day. You're pulling out, if you put in $10,000 or $1,000 or $100, every day you're going to be decreasing it. Now, you're not going to be decreasing it by 1.5%. Keep that in mind, because your 1.5% you pull out, 22% of that is going to get left behind. Okay? And so you're going to have roughly 78%. And that 78% is going to take a 25% hit on the way out. So you're not even going to be pulling out 1% a day. You're going to be pulling out what? I don't know. Some number less than 1%. So, but as you pull out, you're going to be as you pull out that little bit every single day, you're going to be decreasing the Ethereum that you have, or the dollar value that you have at stake. No pun intended, but you'll be having that, you'll be decreasing that risk. And then once you get your investment out, put that investment somewhere else. Leave it in Ethereum, leave it out of the platform, because you just don't know how long the platform is going to last. And I would keep a close eye on that surplus. At some point, that surplus is going to get low enough, you're like, forget it. I may be at a loss, but I'm pulling out now. When I was watching that surplus, just so you know, I didn't want to see that surplus down at no 20%. I can tell you that much. So it was, this thing, it has a lifespan. You have to understand that. There's no part of it designed. Now, here's the other thing that concerns me about this platform. I noticed that they're launching, and this bugged me. I saw this just before I did the video. I noticed that they're launching this, let's see if I can pull it up. They're going to launch the Ethereum Classic dApps. I'm like, what? That can't be real. Because I saw an interview that the developer did, and he was talking about waiting until, it wasn't the right time to do it. You want to wait until you've got more people active and involved. Otherwise, you're going to spread everybody thin. Look, there's already not a lot of people in the regular dApp side. So now you're going to create an exchange and have lending and all that stuff on the ETC side. What is that all about? But keep in mind, I hate to say this, but he's going to make his fees. Look, it is what it is. You just need to know it. If you want to, I know guys are going to jump in here, ladies, you're going to jump in here because you want to you want to be the first in and all that stuff. But just know that you're going to be paying that 25%, and 5% of that is going to the dev. He doesn't have to wait for the round lot. He doesn't get penalized. So everything you put in, he's getting 5% of every single thing that you put in. If you see this thing run up to 100 ETH, well, he made 5 ETH right off the bat. If it goes to 1,000 ETH, he made 50 ETH right off the bat. So you go to pull out, he's going to make another 50 ETH. So you just got to put that in perspective. But when I saw this, I thought, wait a minute. I thought the whole focus was, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I thought the original focus was to keep the regular Ethereum, build that up, get people focused on it. And this isn't even that big. It's only got 457 Ethereum in the contract. That's a nothing burger. And so I thought the whole plan was to build this up and then do something if you were going to do it later once this got bigger. But this is on a downswing. It's not on an upswing. This is on a downswing. So I can't help but feel like, it just feels like if you've been around and watched it, someone in this platform, because if you're not in the platform, I know you got a lot of opinions, but if you're in this platform, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. What's the explanation? Or, for going to Ethereum Classic, because you're just going to spread people thin. So someone let me know the thoughts on that. But anyway, either way, I would use the same strategy. And, there's going to be losers. There's going to be a lot of losers in this thing. There's no way for it not to happen. Just keep in mind that it has a lifespan. And here's one more thing. This is important. People don't think about this. So, yeah, all of these feed into the contract, all these fees. But where is the new people creating fees? After you've lost 25% or 50% or 25 here and 22 there, after you lost that, where are you getting new money to keep creating fees? So you pull out of the surplus, you're one of the net winners in the quote unquote quasi staking. You're one of the net winners. But if you spend that ETH anywhere, you're going to pay hefty fees. Hefty fees. So without more people coming in, I mean, it just can't go on. It just can't go on, unfortunately. And there's not one game outside of this war game that I see that has any sort of a mainstream potential. And the war game doesn't even feed into the staking. So just understand what you've got. I mean, you've got to understand what you've got. And the surplus is the reason that it ultimately will go. I mean, the staking is the reason that it ultimately has to end. It cannot. It either has to end or it has to morph. It cannot continue mathematically. Keep in mind, you're supposed to be getting 1% a day compounded, meaning that everybody in the platform is supposed to be compounding daily. And if all you did was pull out your 1.5%, that would mean that in order for it to stay solvent, that the platform, the business model outside of staking has to be able to grow at 1.5% daily, compounded. Once you understand that, you're like, okay, so this math definitely ends somewhere. So, hey, listen, I reserve the right to be totally 100% wrong. And if I am, please explain to me, what am I missing? What am I missing? How can this go on indefinitely? How does it not end? And it might go on for a while. It may go on for months. I don't think it makes it more than a year or two, but it may go on for months. And the other challenge with this is because the dev is paying you back in staking, because you're putting in tokens and you're getting paid back in tokens. It's counterproductive for him to want to see the price to go up, because he's earning fees in Ethereum. He's getting 5% of Ethereum right here. He's getting Ethereum from the war game. And it gets more and more expensive for him to buy them DDT tokens if they're going up in price. Have you thought about that? Anyway, this is long enough. I just want people to understand it. And I do think there are people who are in daily divs that do understand it. They do get it, and they are playing a strategy understanding it. But if you have not, let me rephrase that. I 100% know that there are people in daily divs that understand this. I know this 100%. I have had one-on-one conversations, and there are people that get it. And I was under the assumption that everybody kind of got it. But I'm seeing some of these comments, and people are acting like, daily divs is the way of the future. This is it. No, it's not. It's a game that's going to end. That's the most positive light you can put it in. That's the most positive light you can put it in. It is a game that is going to end, unfortunately. And I'll just leave it at that. Hey, thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. And listen, if you understand it's a game, then play with it. And don't be upset if you lose. There's no one to be upset at if you lose. It's a game. It is a game. I'm telling you that now. See it that way. Create a strategy if you're going to play in that space, but know that you're taking a risk. There will be losers. You don't want to be in those losers. The worst part about the crypto space in general is that people just don't have an understanding of what they're getting into. And then people get upset. And the crypto space is fascinating. The crypto space in general is the wave of the future. But you have to, the challenging thing about the crypto space in general is that people don't realize that this technology is so amazing, yet they end up getting upset and because they don't know what they're a part of or what they're investing in, they lose money. And it could be a legitimate project, but it's still a very high risk space. And then there's all this negativity and it gets a black eye. I'm not even talking about the straight out scams like BitConnect and stuff like that. And I'm not saying Daily Divs is a BitConnect. Listen, they're showing you a surplus here. They're showing you that there's a lifespan. And whether you realize it or not, where's it at? they're showing you there is a lifespan. There is a lifespan. This is the lifespan. That is all there is in the surplus. When that surplus is gone, it's over with. It doesn't matter if you think the platform owes you another 1.5%. It's not there. And all I'm telling you is that at a compounded rate, 45% monthly, come on. It's actually more than that because you got to compound it. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, that cannot go on forever. The only thing that makes it last is how many more people come in, but they're making it, when he's splitting the attention between this and Ethereum Classic, you're preventing it from growing because you're going to pull Ethereum or people's fiat resources in two different places, or their Bitcoin resources in two different places. Part Ethereum Classic. It's not going to, it just doesn't, I mean, if you're trying to build up the surplus, you don't give people some other place to spend their crypto. And you don't create games like the war game and it doesn't feed into the surplus. So what is the focus? You just gotta, I mean, what is it all about? And here's my thing that I finally come to. What was this created for if it wasn't just a big money grab? What was it created for? It is a big money grab. That is it. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it as long as people understand, you know, how the developer's making his money. All right, I've talked enough. This is it. And I think this might be my last video on Daily Divs. I told you it's here. I explained it. Hopefully you got it. And I don't really like to, you know, be negative in this space. I mean, I'm trying not to badmouth it and be as impartial as possible. The math is what it is. If you've got any questions, put them down below in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to them. But the hard math is what ultimately leads to the demise. Now, what happens when this surplus hits zero? That's going to be fascinating. How do people respond to that? Do people try to pull out? There's nothing to pull out, by the way, when it hits zero. Like when it hits zero, you can't pull nothing out of that at all. At all. And the developer only has so much resources, and there's only so much he's going to be willing to put back in that surplus. By the time it hits zero, he's probably put in what he's going to put in. That's just, and yes, people will sell, and it will kind of pump it a little bit, but whenever people sell, that's less people in the platform. When people totally sell out, they're leaving the platform in most cases. All right, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below. Live the good life, have fun. This crypto space is exciting and amazing. Have an awesome day.